tell me about your experiences yesterday. Like
Okay.
what happened? What are your views
Yeah.
on break your day out
Yes.
for me yesterday?
Yeah.
What obviously you went to the rally.
Yes.
Go, start.
It was really it was basically two separate days in my opinion,
Yeah.
because the start of the day was just something hopeful and something amazing, and then the end of the day was just so scary and so angry and so desperate and depressed in a way. So
Yeah.
the day started, I woke up early in the morning. Since I had spoken at the Stop the Steal event the day prior, I had VIP to the Ellipse rally. So I gathered with the other Stop the Steal people. We made it to the rally somehow. I was with Scott Pressler, CJ Pearson, and a few other folks, and we made it into the VIP. We sat down. Trump came out after a little bit, a few other speakers. Vernon Jones, actually, he officially
cool.
committed to switching to the GOP, and I was with him. So that's really great. You gotta, I don't know if you have had him on the show or not, but you got to get him on someday.
I would
He's
love
great.
to have him on. Yeah.
I'll reach out.
follow.
I'll reach out. He's a friend.
Thank you.
So, but either way, he was great. He switched to the GOP. Trump spoke, and as Trump was speaking, there was actually a plan from the Stop the Steal people. You'll see this on all the graphics and everything, for the Stop the Steal speakers and other speakers to speak at the Capitol. So we had gotten up before Trump had finished speaking and gotten with our security and started walking to the Capitol.
Oh.
This is where things get interesting, because the Stop the Steal had kind of separated into two groups, Ali Alexander and Alex Jones. Actually, I don't know if Alex Jones is part of Stop the Steal, so I want to make that separate delineation right there.
I didn't
but
think he was.
yeah, I don't think he is. He's, InfoWars and all that. But
Yeah,
Ali
yeah.
and Alex Jones were at the front of the Capitol with some of their people.
Okay.
Meanwhile, me and Mike Kudroy, CJ Pearson, and a few other people had made our way to the back of the Capitol.
Okay.
Now, we were looking around for the stage, but we had heard calls that things were getting a little rowdy. So, and plus, all the people were mostly at the front of the Capitol building. So we were going to cancel the back Capitol building event. So we were all standing back there just kind of watching. And then we started hearing yelling. We were at the back just watching things, us and the security, but then we turned around and watched the people start to push forward. This was when the first gates at the back of the Capitol building had fell. People were rushing forward, and at that point, I was just like, "Dang, they're moving forward." They rushed further forward, and I had pushed forward a little bit as well, just to get a better view of everything. And at that point, there had been chants and a bout of emotion. CJ Pearson and I had climbed on top of a truck, actually, and we're kind of cheering the crowd on. I don't have any images or video of this yet, because I'm still waiting on some people, but
I'm sure someone's got it.
oh yeah, it was big. There is a lot of people. You could turn around if you were standing up and look at the Capitol from the back. This wasn't even where the majority of the people were, but from the back, you could turn around and see all the people that had climbed all the way up the steps. I saw people I knew up there at the top.
Oh, really?
And yes, they were raising their fists and all that, because this was after Mike Pence had said that he will not do the thing that Trump had said he could do,
Right.
which was throw out all these false electors, pull the GOP slates, and throw this election to the actual state houses, which was what we thought would happen. He was not on our side. He, in my opinion, backstabbed us, and so now the American people, the patriots, all the MAGA people who were there, were done. So they rushed up, and originally at that point, I didn't know anybody had breached inside the building. I just thought we had occupied the steps and were doing a show of force. And so CJ and I climbed down from the truck, and we met up with some other people and walked away from the Capitol. But as we were walking away, we heard bangs. We heard flash bangs. We saw tear gas begin to be deployed. Personal friends of mine, like Brandon Strzok and some other journalists I know, had actually been tear gassed.
Really?
Like, tear gas was thrown in their direction, and they couldn't breathe. They had to inhale that stuff. It was terrible. So we had walked away from the Capitol, turned back, and we had passed the side of it so we could see the front of the Capitol. And that is when I saw all the people who had climbed on top of the scaffolding. I had seen them waving the MAGA flags. I had seen the crowd slightly beginning to push inside of the building. And at that point, I was like, what is going on? Because what I expected to happen when I noticed people rushing the gates was, like I said a minute ago, occupying the steps and sort of showing we're out here, we give something, we give a care. But they began to push inside, and at that point I was just like, well, dang, I need to get out of here, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what they're going to do, but I know it's going to be crazy. So I think that's just kind of my recap of the first many hours of January 6th. At that point, I was walking with Vernon Jones and CJ away from it, and then I had gotten the message on my phone that Muriel Bowser had shut the city down after 6 p.m., and I was just like, oh, this is funny.
Of course.
Yeah, and actually, if you go back through my Twitter feed on the 6th, you can just kind of see what I was feeling at that point. I tweeted out, "Who's capital? Our capital," in reference to some of the other chants you might hear during that time. But that made the rounds, and it's just a lot of stuff that happened on that day that you really cannot look back and say it's something that you can forget. You cannot forget that.
So you mentioned that you were basically there when you saw them start to push forward. Now, all this stuff is coming out where there is Antifa that were hidden as Trump supporters. I'm hearing it from many different sources, and now I'm finding that they actually knew about it the day before. That they were told that there might be a group of Antifa that dresses up as Trump supporters. And it's interesting because Trump had that tweet that said, "Hey, Antifa, you're a terrorist organization. If you come, we're looking for you. We're waiting. We're watching you." And now we're actually, people are, the internet's incredible. Like, people are seeing all of the pictures and cross-referencing on all the different riots, because there's been riots all year. I don't know if people remember or not, but there's been riots and people burning down. I mean, DC already burned this year, and they didn't do anything. You know, they keep talking about, you know, if it was a Black Lives Matter protest, then, you know, so many more people would have been shot. And it's just like,
I hate that comparison.
Do they realize that, you know, I mean, and Antifa too, you know, I don't want to just pit it all on Black Lives Matter, but they burnt cities down, and you know, it's like, and the crime has skyrocketed all across the country, you know, and the DC, they went in and one person got killed, you know, because of it. And it was, I don't like even talking about race, because you were there.
Yes.
Everyone that was there was all different colors. Like, it's so silly that they're like white privilege, and it's like, okay, what, because a couple people that were in there were white, like, and there was also all different colors that were inside too. What is this white privilege something, you know?
The MAGA movement is just a melting pot of patriots, and that's really all it is. And there, you know, there's people of all different identities in there, and I know sometimes there can be clashes from within. Some people may not like other people, but, you know, either way, they all believe in the same movement, and I think that's what's the most important thing is, you know, uniting behind a figure like Trump, but more so, just above Trump, uniting behind the idea of making America great again. You know, I know a lot of people that personally think that, you know, seeing Trump as an idol or something, which I don't think a lot of people do, but they see Trump and they think these other people see Trump as an idol and don't care about America. But it's really the other way around. They care about America because of what Trump did, or they care about America because of what Trump represents for this nation. And I think
it is also kind of I don't want to say father figure, but I think there's a lacking of like masculine role models.
Oh yeah.
And he is very bold and you know, he's you know, like a classic dude, like a man, like he talks about winning, he talks about the art of the deal, you know, he's a masculine person. And I think people, I mean, whether or not you want to admit this, so I'm sure this pisses some people off, but I don't care, you know. It's like, you know, people gravitate towards confidence also, you know. He's a confident man, and there's something to be said about that. And he's a confident man that loves America.
Yes.
So that locks it in. Like, man, like who doesn't like that? Like, if you're an American patriot, like that's awesome.
That's just
it's
not
a manly,
manly
man that loves this country.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just not something we really see in these left-wing figures. You know?
You're right.
I've never seen somebody with a Biden flag also with an American flag. I've never seen that.
That's messed up, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people I've talked to about and how sad this fact is. If you see an American flag, you know who they voted for.
Absolutely.
How sad is that?
More often than not.
Yeah.
Because right above that Trump flag in front of your house is an American flag.
Yeah.
Or you know, these people
or
who
simply
really,
just an American flag. I don't know. You voted for Trump.
You know, you see an American flag, but then like a Trump sticker on their truck or something.
Of course.
It's like, that's a person who cares about America. That's a person who lets that masculine energy, or that's a person who lets that logical thought control and demand how they live their life. And I think that's the most important thing through all of it, is that you don't allow these emotions to control you. And that's what I think places a lot of people conflicted about what happened yesterday, because it was emotion that caused what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, even looking above BLM and Antifa, and I do think they have a lot to blame for all this, but I also believe that it was truly patriots who wanted to storm the Capitol. I don't know about destroy property or end things with loss of life, but I know that the people who wanted to take the Capitol and show that we care and show that we have the energy to run this nation if we need to, those were true patriots who had felt betrayed by their own systems.
Well, and not only, I mean, storm the Capitol. I heard you just say that.
Yeah.
And that has been analyzed greatly today. Yeah. People are like, Trump said storm the Capitol.
False.
And it's like, even if he did say it, Okay, even if he did say, he said we were going to go over to the Capitol because
Yes.
was the plan,
Yeah.
was to go
I
stand.
spoke about that a minute ago. That's where
Right.
we were going to be speaking at
Right.
the Capitol. He
You
was
were
promoting
going to
our
speak there.
event.
Well, even if, to me, think as a patriot, which I am, I love this country, storming the Capitol would have been taking over the steps.
Yes.
You know, announcing our presence and making, you know, like I talked about this on my show last night, Martin Luther King. He did sit-ins. He would go and sit down and just make your presence known. Like barging in, you know, and now bring it back to this whole, like, was it Antifa? Like, or even if it was Trump supporters, like, does that mean stereotyping every single Trump supporter to be some, you know, people that are causing a ruckus and causing, you know, the Senate to just be, oh, we're no longer going to object. Yeah. And then, of course, did you listen to them speak after the fact too? They had these perfectly written, composed, because of this violence and this and that and blah, 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 all these speeches, like each and every single one of them. It's like, when did they have the time to write these perfectly poised speeches about how this violence can't go on when there's been violence going on in this country all for the past year? Where were they?
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, it makes a difference because it wasn't even violence.
Yeah.
It wasn't even, okay, some of them were fighting with the police to get past. Of course, some of the police let them in, too. We're seeing different conflicting videos of that, you know? And then we're seeing, like you mentioned earlier, the Antifa was trying to break the window, and everyone's like, yo, this guy's Antifa. He's not with us. He had a helmet on with a crudely taped, you know, a Trump sticker on the back of his helmet. And it's like, really? Like, is that the best you can do? You just slap a Trump sticker on the back of your helmet? Like, that's not a Trump supporter.
Yeah.